They say grief deserves time, but mine got a deadline. While my body broke, my boss looked the other way. This is the story of how I was forced to work through my miscarriage. Welcome to Boss from Hell, where the worst workplaces come to light.
Welcome to the deep dive. We take a pile of sources and really try to pull out the key insights for you. Today, we're looking at something tough. A headline you might have seen or maybe even experienced. My boss made me work through my miscarriage. It's more than a headline, isn't it? It's an awful reality for so many people, often totally hidden. So our mission today is to pull out what's crucial from the research, the articles, the stories you've shared with us. We're talking workplace rights, pregnancy loss, basic human dignity, really. We want to give you a shortcut to getting informed on this incredibly common, yet often unspoken challenge. Just a heads up, we will be touching on sensitive topics, pregnancy loss, obviously, but also workplace harassment, medical trauma. It's heavy stuff. We'll look at the laws, the psychological side, the economic pressures, whole system, basically. And importantly, what needs to change? Because this isn't rare. Pregnancy loss affects millions every single year. Your coworkers, friends, family, maybe you. And it's not just a medical thing. It gets right to fundamental human rights. And what happens when employers, well, when they fail, either failing decency or failing their legal duties. So let's start with the scope. These numbers, they're kind of shocking when you see them laid out.
They really are. The estimates are that about 15 to 20% of known pregnancies in the U.S. end in loss. That's like 1 in 5.
1 in 5. Wow.
And that's known pregnancies.
Yeah.
Some experts think if you include the very early losses, ones people might not even realize were pregnancies, it could be much higher, maybe 30, even 40%.
So we're talking millions of people every year dealing with this immense pain, this recovery, often completely alone.
Exactly. And what strikes me is the huge disconnect. You have this incredibly common human experience, and then you have society, especially workplaces, just not recognizing the impact.
Right.
People often don't grasp the medical reality. It varies so much. Early loss might mean an emergency room visit, heavy bleeding, cramps, exhaustion, later losses. They can involve surgery, even labor and delivery trauma. Physical recovery alone can take weeks, months.
And the grief.
The grief is profound, consistently described as being like any other major loss, losing a child, a partner, a parent. It's that level.
And yet workplaces just seem miles behind.
Completely. You have the World Health Organization, the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. They all classify miscarriage as a significant health event, needs proper care. But then you look at employers, so many have no specific policies at all.
Or they don't even realize their existing sick leave or medical leave should apply.
Precisely. Or worse, they actively discourage taking time off. They treat it as somehow less legitimate, less real than, I don't know, a broken arm.
That attitude seems baked into the stats too.
It really is. Fewer than 30% of employers have specific policies for pregnancy loss. Think about that. And for people who do go through it, over 60% felt unsupported at work. Nearly 40% faced actual negative consequences.
Like what kind of consequences?
Things like getting their hours cut, being passed over for promotion, even getting fired.
Unbelievable.
So these aren't abstract numbers. They're real people in immense pain, often silenced. It's a systemic issue.
That's it, isn't it? Hidden by silence, by a lack of understanding. Which brings us to the legal side. There are laws, right? But how effective are they, really? It often feels like they're not worth the paper they're printed on for the folks who need them most.
That's the frustrating part. The frameworks exist, but they're full of holes, like the FMLA, the Family and Medical Leave Act.
Okay, what does that do?
Well, it provides up to 12 weeks of unpaid, job-protected leave for serious health conditions. And the Department of Labor has been very clear, pregnancy loss is covered under that. It counts as a serious health condition.
Okay, so it should be covered. But you said holes. What are the catches?
Big ones. FMLA doesn't apply to everyone. First, your company needs to have 50 or more employees within a 75-mile radius.
So small businesses are out.
Right off the bat. And you, the employee, need to have worked there for at least 12 months and clocked up 12,250 hours in that year.
So if you're new or part-time.
You're out of luck. Imagine someone 3 months into a job, they have this devastating loss. They need time to heal, physically, emotionally. But FMLA doesn't apply.
So they face choosing between recovery and their job with no legal safety net.
Exactly. Millions are left vulnerable. Small business workers, part-timers, new hires.
That's a huge chunk of the workforce. Are there any other federal laws that might help, even a little?
There are a couple of others. The Pregnancy Discrimination Act, the PDA, it says employers can't discriminate based on pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical conditions. They have to treat pregnancy loss like any other temporary disability.
Okay.
And the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, might apply if there are complications from the loss that substantially limit a major life activity. But that's a high bar.
And states do some offer more.
Yes, thankfully. Some states step up. California, New York, Rhode Island, for instance, have paid family leave programs that can cover this. Illinois and New York also have specific laws requiring reasonable accommodations for pregnancy loss. So it's a patchwork quilt of protection.
Patchwork.
Yeah.
Which sounds confusing and probably leads to gaps in actually getting that protection. Why do these laws seem to fail people so often?
That's the enforcement gap. It's huge. Well, first, a lot of people, employees and employers, just don't know the rights exist or don't understand them.
Ignorance of the law.
Yep. Then there's fear. People are terrified of retaliation, even though it's legal. Getting fired, demoted, sidelined.
How do you even prove that?
It's incredibly hard. Subtle discrimination. Maybe you get worse assignments, excluded from meetings. It's tough to document a pattern, especially when you're grieving. The employer can always find some other excuse.
Right.
And the process itself, filing a complaint is long. It can be expensive. It's emotionally draining. Honestly, the enforcement mechanisms are just notoriously weak, especially if you're not covered by FMLA to begin with.
So laws on the books, but often out of reach. Which brings us back to the person, sitting at their desk trying to hold it together, hit deadlines while they're just processing this immense loss. How can we expect anyone to function like that, let alone do good work?
We can't. It's an impossible ask. And mental health professionals, they're really clear about this now. Grief from pregnancy loss is significant bereavement. It triggers symptoms just like other major losses, depression, anxiety, even PTSD.
And there's that term, disenfranchised grief.
Yeah.
Right, because society often minimizes it.
Exactly. People get told things like, oh, move on, or you can always try again, or it was so early.
As if that helps.
It's incredibly damaging. It invalidates a real profound loss. It just adds layers to the trauma.
And what's happening inside someone's head? Cognitively.
Grief messes with your brain. Concentration, memory, decision-making, they all take a hit. These aren't failures of willpower. They're normal neurological responses to trauma.
So asking someone to perform normally
is demanding the impossible from a brain that's basically in crisis mode. You're setting them up to fail, and you're stopping them from healing physically and emotionally. That can lead to much bigger problems down the line.
Like long-term mental health issues.
Definitely. The risk of persistent depression skyrockets if you don't get support. One study, I think from 2022, found women were 3 times more likely to develop depression if they felt unsupported after a loss, plus anxiety, PTSD.
And it doesn't just affect that one person, does it?
No, it ripples outwards. Coworkers might experience secondary trauma, seeing their colleagues suffer or being asked to pick up the slack without understanding why. Team dynamics can really break down. The human cost is just immense.
It really is. And yet, businesses often seem to view support as optional, a nice to have.
Yeah. But isn't there a strong business case for compassion here? It's not just about being nice. It's actually smart business.
Yeah, it's absolutely smart business. It's fascinating how often this gets overlooked. Businesses focus on the perceived cost of leave, but ignore the very real cost of not providing support.
What are those costs? Well, direct costs first. Productivity tanks. We're talking an average drop of about 21%, and that can last for months. Think about an employee earning, say, $60,000 a year. That 21% drop cost the company around $2,600 a month in lost output per employee experiencing this without support.
That adds up fast. And that's just productivity. What about keeping people?
Turnover. That's the big one. Replacing an employee is expensive. Estimates range from 50% to even 200% of their annual salary.
Wow.
And get this, 45% of employees who feel unsupported after a loss actively start looking for a new job within 6 months. And 78%, nearly 4 out of 5, say lack of compassion was a major reason.
So you're losing good people because you failed them in a critical moment.
Exactly. And then there are the other risks. Reputational damage stories spread like wildfire on social media these days. PR nightmares. Plus legal costs. Discrimination suits. EEOC investigations. Those can run into hundreds of thousands of dollars very quickly. A toxic culture has a real price tag.
Okay, so that's the cost of getting it wrong. What about the benefits of getting it right?
Oh, the return on investment is huge. When companies provide genuine support, you see increased loyalty, higher engagement, better performance. People are more likely to refer good candidates.
Makes sense.
It helps attract diverse talent, too.
Mm.
It can even lower health insurance costs because people are less stressed, mentally and physically healthier. Team morale improves, psychological safety increases, which can even boost innovation.
So the investment in things like paid leave or flexibility,
Yeah.
it pays off.
Absolutely. The costs of implementing good policies are usually pretty modest compared to the benefits. Companies often see returns within the first year. It's not just the right thing to do, it's the financially savvy thing to do.
These stories, these case studies, they really bring it home, don't they? It's not abstract policy. It's how real people's lives are affected, for better or worse.
Precisely. And they show that the best approaches aren't just about rules, they're rooted in empathy, in understanding the actual human experience.
Let's talk about Sarah, the retail manager. That story is rough.
It really is. She had a miscarriage, needed emergency surgery, calls her district manager, and his response is just brutal.
Yeah.
You weren't really that pregnant anyway. Be back Thursday, we're short.
Just callous.
Incredibly. She goes back 3 days after surgery, still in pain, grieving, faces sarcastic remarks about her commitment, starts having panic attacks. Eventually, she just couldn't take it anymore and left.
Did she file a complaint?
She did. And it turned out the company had zero policy, zero training for managers on this. The fallout, legally and for their reputation, was massive. And the human cost for Sarah, immense.
Such a stark contrast to Maria's story, the software development.
Night and day. Maria miscarries. Tells her supervisor the immediate response. Don't worry about work. Take the time you need. Your health is the priority.
Wow.
The company actually had a policy, 2 weeks of paid bereavement, leave specifically for pregnancy loss. Her team supported her. She had a gradual return. What was the result?
She stayed.
She stayed. Her loyalty went through the roof. She became a huge advocate for the company culture. They kept a valuable employee because they showed basic human decency and had a supportive structure in place.
Then there's Jennifer, the nurse. Her situation highlights a different kind of cruelty.
Yes, the context of her work made it so much harder. She miscarried at 14 weeks, was told, basically, take the weekend, see you Monday.
Just brush it off.
And then this is the kicker. She gets assigned to the obstetrics unit. Surrounded by pregnant patients, newborns, she asked for a different assignment, denied, staffing shortages.
Oh, that's unbearable.
And then she makes a minor medication error, likely because she's exhausted, grieving, mentally overloaded, and it's used against her. Almost cost her her nursing license. A total catch-22 fueled by lack of support.
It shows how the work environment itself can compound the trauma. But good stories can come from unexpected places, like Lisa at the small construction company.
Right. Only 15 employees. No FMLA requirement. Lisa, the office manager, has a loss. Her boss immediately tells her, take whatever time you need, don't worry about pay, your family here.
Yeah. Pure kindness.
Totally. He went out of his way, researched grief counseling, offered unlimited paid time off. No policy manual prompted that. It was just human connection. And the loyalty it built, huge. It even helped them attract other great people later on.
And finally, Rachel's story shows the power of collective action.
Yes, the union intervention. Rachel works in manufacturing. Supervisor denies leave after her miscarriage production targets,
The usual excuse.
But her union rep steps in immediately, points to the union contract, which actually had provisions for this. They filed a grievance.
And what happened?
It led to company-wide policy changes, mandatory manager training. It shows how organized labor can force systemic improvements when one person alone might feel powerless.
These stories just underscore it all. A policy, a manager's response, a union contract. It can change everything.
They really can. And they lead us to think about who gets support and who doesn't. Because it's not the same for everyone, is it?
No, it definitely isn't. It seems like pregnancy loss hits differently depending on who you are and where you work. Existing inequalities just make it harder.
Exactly. It forces us to ask, can we really talk about equitable workplaces if we ignore how systemic issues intersect with something so personal, so traumatic?
Like class differences.
Huge impact. Higher income workers, often in professional jobs, are more likely to have better benefits, paid leave policies, good insurance. They have a cushion. But low-wage workers, service industry, gig economy, they face intense economic pressure. Unpaid leave often just isn't an option. They're forced back to work long before they're ready, physically or emotionally. It's a brutal choice.
And race and ethnicity factor in too, sadly.
They do. We know Black and Hispanic women experience higher rates of pregnancy loss to begin with. And research shows they often get less support from supervisors, more skepticism, face more barriers.
Yeah.
Cultural factors, language barriers can add another layer of isolation too.
What about other groups?
The challenges intersect in many ways. LGBTQ plus folks might face loss after investing heavily, emotionally, and financially in fertility treatments.
Right.
Policies might not be inclusive, or managers might lack understanding. Then add in age, disability status, immigration status. Where you live, rural versus urban, makes a difference in access to care. The industry-dominated fields might have less understanding. It all compounds.
So if someone holds multiple marginalized identities,
The situation can become incredibly precarious. Getting meaningful support can feel almost impossible. It's a complex web, and the people most in need are often the least likely to get help.
it paints a pretty bleak picture here in the U.S. sometimes, which makes looking internationally quite interesting. Are other countries handling this better?
It's definitely illuminating to look elsewhere. Many developed nations have approaches that seem, well, frankly, more humane and integrated. They treat pregnancy loss as a significant life event that warrants real support, not just a medical footnote.
Like Australia. You mentioned them earlier.
Yeah, Australia's recent law is a great example. 2 days of paid miscarriage leave before 20 weeks. It's specifically miscarriage leave, not just sick leave. That explicit recognition matters.
2 days paid, that's concrete. What else stands out globally?
New Zealand is interesting too. They've had bereavement leave for pregnancy loss for a while regardless of gestation, and they run public awareness campaigns to tackle the stigma. It's policy plus culture change.
Policy and culture, okay.
Then you look at the Nordic countries, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, their whole system is different. Comprehensive parental leave, often including partners. Sick leave covers early losses. Robust employee assistance programs. And just a general work culture that values flexibility and well-being much more.
That sounds leagues ahead. Are there common themes?
Definitely. Across these diverse countries, you often see universal health care, so access isn't tied to your job. Paid leave that specifically acknowledges pregnancy loss. Recognizing partners need support too. Clear government guidance for employers, those public campaigns to reduce stigma, and often stronger unions or labor protections pushing for these things.
And how does the U.S. stack up against that?
The contrast is pretty stark. Our fragmented system, healthcare tied to jobs, lack of federally mandated paid leave, it means we often lag way behind in providing that comprehensive, compassionate support that seems more standard elsewhere.
That link between jobs and healthcare in the U.S., it seems like it would make everything so much harder during a health crisis like this.
It absolutely does. It creates this vicious cycle. You have a medical crisis, maybe workplace conflict because of it, and that conflict could threaten your access to the very healthcare you need for recovery. It compounds the trauma significantly.
Right. Dealing with insurance hurdles while you're grieving, high deductibles, co-pays, maybe waiting periods for mental health support.
Exactly. It adds this huge administrative and financial burden at the worst possible time, and the fear. The fear of losing your job and therefore your insurance can actually make people delay getting necessary medical care or leave the hospital too soon.
It's awful to think someone might prioritize their job over their health because of that fear.
It is. And sometimes healthcare providers themselves aren't fully aware of workplace laws or don't feel equipped to advocate for their patients regarding time off or accommodations, though thankfully some are starting to see that as part of their role.
And what about people going through fertility treatments?
That adds another layer of complexity. Often, a lot of money, time, and hope are invested. A loss during or after treatment is devastating on multiple levels, and the pressure to get back to work quickly to keep earning money, maybe for more treatment, is immense.
Are there ways to fix this part of the system?
There are definitely opportunities. Better coordination between healthcare providers and employers, insurance reforms for better, easier access to mental health coverage. Stronger occupational health programs within companies could help bridge that gap. Addressing this healthcare fragmentation is key to making recovery less of an ordeal.
Okay, we've really laid out the problems, the gaps, the pain points, but let's shift to solutions. What can actually be done? What does change look like?
This is the crucial part, right? And the good news is there's a roadmap. It just requires action on multiple levels: federal, state, individual employers, even the healthcare system.
So starting at the top, federal level.
Yeah, big picture things. Expand FMLA. Make it cover everyone, not just people at large companies who've been there a year. And critically, make it paid leave, at least partially. Unpaid leave isn't feasible for so many. The Department of Labor could issue really clear, strong guidance specifically on pregnancy loss under FMLA. The EEOC could target discrimination related to pregnancy loss. Maybe require federal contractors to have good policies. Tax incentives for companies that do the right thing could help too.
Makes sense. In states, what can they do?
States can often move faster. They can pass stronger anti-discrimination laws that explicitly mention pregnancy loss. They can build pregnancy loss into their paid family and medical leave programs, like some already have. They can also offer resources and training to employers, especially smaller ones, to help them implement better policies. And state and local governments can lead by example with their own workforce.
Okay, down to the employer level. If a company wants to do better, what should be in their policy framework?
Number 1, dedicated paid time off for pregnancy loss, separate from general sick days or standard bereavement. Recognize it as its own unique event.
Okay, specific paid leave. What else?
Clear accommodation policies, things like flexible hours, maybe temporarily changing duties, providing a private space if needed for someone recovering, and manager training, mandatory comprehensive training. Managers are on the front lines. They need to know how to respond with compassion and within the law.
That manager training seems key.
Absolutely. Plus, specialized resources through employee assistance programs, if they have one, focused on pregnancy loss, and flexible individual return to work plans, not a one-size-fits-all approach.
And looping back to healthcare.
Healthcare systems need integration. Train providers on these workplace issues so they can advocate effectively. Create specialized pregnancy loss support programs that include that advocacy piece. Push for streamlined insurance coverage for mental health support. Technology can help too, resource platforms, better HR systems, telehealth.
And unions.
Unions have huge power here. They can bargain for these benefits in contracts, educate their members, make sure grievance procedures are strong if someone is denied leave or faces discrimination. Really, implementing all this takes commitment, engaging everyone involved, maybe pilot programs, clear communication, ongoing training, measuring results, and really working on that deeper cultural shift towards compassion.
It sounds like a lot, but also achievable.
Yeah.
There are concrete steps, which makes these stories of hope and resilience even more important. They show it can be done.
Exactly. They're not just feel-good stories. They're proof of concept. They show how individual actions, policy changes, collective efforts, they create real positive change.
Like David, the manager who messed up initially.
Right. His first response was terrible. But he learned, not from HR, but from the employee's partner, who took the time to explain the reality of the trauma. And David listened. It changed him. He became this huge advocate, revamped his whole department's approach. Now his team has the best satisfaction scores. It shows people can learn and grow and leadership can change.
And Jennifer, the small business owner, proving you don't need to be huge to be humane.
Totally. She went through it herself, saw the gap, created compassionate policies, a peer support network with limited resources, built incredible loyalty. It's about values, not just budget size.
Maria, the hospital tech whose union stepped in.
A classic example of collective power. One supervisor says no, but the union contract provides the backstop. It didn't just help Maria, it forced system-wide change that benefited hundreds. Unions can be crucial.
And the big corporate example? TechCorp.
Driven by tragedy, unfortunately, an employee's suicide linked to lack of support. But the CEO responded with real commitment, partnered with experts, rolled out massive training, created benchmark policies. It shows even large organizations can pivot, though sometimes it takes a crisis.
Dr. Martinez, the OBGYN who became an advocate.
Bridging that gap between medical care and workplace reality, realizing her patient's healing was being undermined by work stress, so she started educating employers, changing medical training. Healthcare providers can be powerful allies.
And finally, the Employee Resource Group at Global Corp.
Grassroots change. Employees supporting each other, finding their collective voice. They didn't wait for leadership. They created the change they needed, built a support system, and influenced policy from the bottom up. It shows the power employees have when they organize.
So we've covered a lot of ground. The sheer scale of pregnancy loss, the ways our systems often fail people, the human cost, the business case for doing better, lessons from overseas, and importantly, concrete ways forward.
And the story showing that change is happening, driven by empathy and action. The tools and knowledge are there.
So thinking about you, listening right now, what's your takeaway? What's your role? Well, if you're an employee who's been through this, please know your experience is valid. You are not alone. Your healing matters. And if you feel able, your voice advocating for change could help so many others. If you're a manager, you have such a critical role. Please educate yourself, learn the policies, learn compassionate communication. Your response matters immensely. Choose empathy. If you're in HR, take a hard look at your policies. Are they really enough? Are they human? Use the examples, the frameworks. You can build better systems. If you're a business leader, your policies signal your company's values. Leading with compassion isn't just good ethics, it's good strategy. You can set the tone for your whole industry. If you're a healthcare provider, remember your power to advocate. Documentation, resources, understanding workplace rights. You can be a lifeline for patients navigating this. If you're a policymaker, please see the gaps. Current laws leave too many behind. Look at the recommendations. Look internationally. Your decisions impact millions. If you're a union member or a leader, this is a core workplace issue.
Use your collective strength to bargain for better protections, to support your members. And if you're none of those, but you just care, your support matters. Talking about this, challenging stigma, supporting colleagues or friends, advocating for change in your own circles, it all helps build momentum.
That phrase, my boss made me work through my miscarriage. It needs to be history. A painful reminder of a time we didn't do better.
Every single person experiencing pregnancy loss deserves support, deserves an employer who understands, respects their grief, helps them recover, protects their job. Every company, every organization can choose to be part of the solution. The path is clear. What we need now is the will, the collective will to make this change real. The choice is ours.